Welcome to the Freedom or Bust podcast with Joeel and Natalie Rivera. You are here because you will accept nothing less than the freedom to determine your destiny, do what you love, and fulfill your life's purpose. We believe that self-employment is the ultimate form of empowerment, and our mission is to bring you guests whose powerful entrepreneurship stories and real-world advice will give you the inspiration and tools to create a business and life that you love. Today's guest is Emily, the Angel Coach. Out of college, Emily was a teacher and worked with children with disabilities. As fate would have it, she had a baby who ended up having disabilities and became a stay-at-home mom. Emily didn't see her situation as a limitation like many other people may have. Instead, she turned it into a blessing by allowing her special needs daughter to inspire her to further develop the intuitive gifts that Emily had experienced since childhood. Driven by a desire both to communicate with her daughter at a higher level, as she would never be able to speak, as well as a deep desire to continue to do work that made a difference in the world, she dove into studying and developing her gifts. She began holding small workshops and offering personal readings in which she shared intuitive guidance. A few years later, she found herself as a single mom of 3, needing to provide for her family. But she didn't allow this to slow her down. She continued to learn strategies for building a business, and she embraced abundance by being willing to raise her fees, which many heart-centered entrepreneurs hold themselves back from doing. Her reputation grew, including among other entrepreneurs, and she began offering life coaching packages that were infused with divine guidance. Emily, known as the Angel Coach, has touched and transformed thousands of lives as a speaker, author, retreat facilitator, and intuitive coach. Her confident, warm, and approachable personality open individuals and entrepreneurs to the power of their higher self and the divine guidance that's available to them to awaken their gifts, realigns them with their higher power, and acts as a catalyst to their dreams. Whether you want to dive into what it takes to create a thriving business despite life's challenges, how to evolve your business from making less than $100 per hour to charging $3,500 for 1 week, or you're intrigued about developing your own intuition or opening your experience to the angels and the divine, then you're going to love this episode because Emily will deliver. We're excited to be welcoming Emily to the show today because her story represents the ultimate personal empowerment and perseverance. We've been honored to work with Emily in so many ways over the past decade and to watch her transform. She inspires us, and we know that you'll love her as much as we do. So let's get started and welcome Emily, the angelic superhero herself.
Hello, thank you.
So welcome. Again, we're excited to have you here with us. You truly are an inspiration. I think you're a great model for so many people to really understand that there are no limitations in life. That whatever obstacles you have in your life, whatever challenges you have, you can overcome those and create the dream life that you truly want. So thank you for what you do, first of all, for all the people that you inspire and transform, and for being with us today. We're truly honored.
And thank you. And I'm honored and grateful to be here with life with you guys. I'm inspired by you as well, and just honored for this opportunity to be of service. So yay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so obviously we kind of set up the story a little bit about what got you on the path, being an entrepreneur, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about what inspired you from your own perspective to, go independent, create your own living, and make the difference in the world that you wanted to make.
Well, I have to celebrate that life led me into this. And I feel like in every way, every entrepreneur is led into the path of what they're here to create and who they came here to become. And in so many ways, we feel that calling. And, when we ignore that call, it's as if life says, no, this is where you're going to go. And this is the path you need to take. And for me, it became that experience. I knew in so many levels, I've always been blessed with work and opportunities that just come to me. And I know it seems like, well, I wish I had that opportunity show up like that for me as well. But I really feel that life has just taught me to pay attention. Life has taught me to really be present to what comes my way and take action. A lot of times for all of us, we have opportunities that show up, conversations that show up in that perfect timing, individuals that connect to us in that perfect timing. And it's about being bold enough and willing enough to take action and to follow through. A lot of times things come to us and we allow them to sizzle out, and then we're left with like, oh, I wish I would have, I wish I could, all of this could have been done by that. My first beginning of this actually synchronistically came because I was booking a birthday party for my daughter. And, I like to celebrate that. It's about really us being proactive and preparing ourselves in every way possible, being introspective enough to lead ourselves into who we came here to be, so that when that opportunity shows up, we're ready, we're prepared. A lot of times we're working into like, oh, I want this opportunity, and we focus on that versus on the empowering concept that we need to work on ourselves. We need to take time to develop who we are. So when that door opens up, we can rush right through it and really just step into that. And for me, what happened, it was a birthday party, and I was personally working on myself and being all that I needed to be, especially to be the best mom and caring, like you said, for my daughter with special needs, and really showing up in every way possible, especially with my intuition, to care for her and nourish her and be there for her. And when I was booking the party, the person who was getting everything set up just said, hey, what do you do? And at the time, I was a school teacher. At the time, I was also spending time visualizing and claiming and celebrating, what it is that I wanted to do in my life, which was to serve, to speak, to offer in contributing ways that will help people tap into their intuition. And it's as if that inner voice took over, right? All this preparation took over. And I just said, oh, I teach classes on how to live your heart's desires. And the lady's like, oh, we've been looking for people like this. So right on the spot, I got signed on to start doing classes for the city. And that evolved and continued even when I got a traffic ticket. And I'm here. This is a long story, but I'm making it really short as best as I can.
No, we love it. So.
Yeah. And so that evolved into another opportunity. I was actually driving and I was speeding. I swear that in a past life, I was a race car driver. And I was ordered to do volunteer work to get my points off. And I said, how can I step and use this to benefit and produce and create what I've been setting forth? So that's what I did. I took that leap of faith and decided to use those hours to do free readings at the church, at the Unity Church in St. Pete. And from there, my business just boomed very quickly. Just as I started sharing, I took that leap of faith and used it, and it's part of what I know they shared a little bit with the story, is using what life has brought to you as part of the gift. Even all those challenges or those things that seem like too hard to face are actually part of the evolution. It's part of what's building you to become who you came here to be, especially as an entrepreneur, and especially if you are sharing and evolving in a way that you're here to contribute to the greater good, to working with individuals, to putting things out there to evolve people's minds, hearts, bodies, and on levels who they can be. So that's pretty much how it unfolded. And from there, just moved in very quickly. As I said, part of my decision, and I encourage people to understand that it's about really making a decision to pay attention. It's about really understanding that our choice is what matters. A lot of times we forget that the gift that we have as humans is to choose to evolve our business, is to choose to be available, is to choose to pay attention. And that was a decision early on that I chose to live with life's harmony. I chose to pay attention to the sign. I chose to take action, and I chose to embrace every inspired action that was brought to me. And from there, it's just been very magical, and seeing and witnessing how through the joys and through the challenges, I've been led along the way, just really evolving my business very quickly.
Well, and one of the things that I love about your development and seeing you and what you're saying is that what you've always done is that you're willing to take action. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't know what the next step is after that action, you're willing to take that first action and then just trust. It's almost like you're fearless in many ways. And I'm pretty sure there's fears that come up and stuff like that in the process, because there's so many unknowns, especially because you've come from a completely different person, from being a teacher to all of a sudden getting this contract. and people telling you, okay, I want you to do this workshop, for a lot of people be like, what did I get myself into? So what do, in that process to be able to really release and let go when you're like doing that transition and taking that action step for something new and unknown?
Well, and there's a lot of ways to answer that. But if I'm giving tools for people to be prepared for their action taking and following through, I think it's about really being proactive about developing your worth, your own, thank you, I'm audibly hearing your own sense of communication, your own story. I speak very differently than you guys, but you guys are as amazing and as powerful as I can show up. We each have our own unique form of delivering and communicating. But that being said, just being proactive. And one of the things that I like to celebrate, or at least I like to choose to celebrate, is that, whatever brought me there will carry me through. Mm-hmm. So whether you call it God, source, universe, energy, higher self, whatever it might be, whatever has brought me there, whatever has led me to that opportunity, whatever has opened this door is going to lead me through it as well. And from there, it's about just walking in faith, facing that fear. And again, thank you, understanding that it's all part of that evolution. That fear is part of the gift. Because if we didn't have that fear, then there's a part of us that is not recognizing that as we move through that fear, we are becoming who the next level of who we came here to become. I'm audibly hearing catalyst. Every time we choose to face, confront our fear and love our fear, we allow that fear to be part of the catalyst, part of what leads us into the next. Because as we do that, we become more empowered to not just leading ourselves into our journey, but also it helps us as entrepreneurs really be of better service to those people we're serving. Because when we allow ourselves to be human, right, and let ourselves be very authentic, like, hey, this is a little scary for me, but I'm choosing faith over fear. That helps us to also be in tune with who we're serving and who we can lead into their own process. But for me, and just those are part of what I do proactively, right? And what I do as I'm facing the fear. But, actively in my own action steps, meditation for me is very important. So I take time to meditate, whether it's because I sit for 10, 15 minutes in silence, or I walk outside and I do gratitude meditation where I really take time to appreciate everything that is around me. And from there, I choose that. So again, I go back to the choice. So I choose that gratitude. I choose the meditation and the peace that can come from it over the fear. And we sometimes allow ourselves to choose to empower the fear versus to decide and choose, I have the ability, I've got the gift, I have the power to feed the peace, to feed the gratitude versus whatever fear is coming up. So I hope that's making sense.
Absolutely. I love that. And go ahead.
I got another thing. They're audibly telling me, and for those who are seeing me, I hear audible guidance. So they're audibly saying, also write all the action and inspired action steps that come up, no matter how crazy they sound. Just take a piece of paper. Look at this. I mean, I still do this today.
Yeah, we do too.
And it's like you just write everything that comes up, even if it, it's funny. So they're saying, I don't know why they're saying iconic. I don't know what that means, but so that's relevant to somebody. But it's kind of like you just write everything and anything that comes up, even if it sounds absurd or irrelevant, but you pretty much, it's like, I know it's an intense word to say, but you vomit everything that's ready to come out when the opportunity shows up or when an idea comes up. And it's kind of like you're liberating through that verbal proclamation your own yes. You're verbalizing it. You're giving it power. You're setting it free. You're setting it into a form and into vibration, which anything and everything can be possible from there.
Well, and I love that what you're really pointing out here is that you're following your inspiration. And in order to do that, it's not that you don't have fear. It's that you point yourself towards the inspiration rather than the fear. And one of the things you brought up earlier, I think is so important, and that from observing you is what you do so well, which is being prepared. Like you said, like when an opportunity comes, you have to be prepared. And what you seem to do to be prepared is one, working on yourself, getting yourself in alignment so that you're clear about what you want and that you're feeling empowered and that you're in a centered place yourself so that you're in a good place. And then also being prepared by learning the things you need to learn and taking the smaller steps that you need to take so that when that opportunity comes, you can say, yes, I'm going to do this. And part of the reason why the fear isn't debilitating is because you already know you can do it because you've been being prepared. So it's like following the inspiration and coming from that place of magic, while at the same time, at a practical level, doing the things you need to do. And like, that is your magic. Like, that's what I see as your gift, is that you can be in both worlds at the same time.
And one of the things that I love what you shared with the traffic ticket is that I think that one of the things that you do well and that people can learn from is that you take every negative and say, what blessing can I get out of this? Why was this put in my journey? Because it was put there for a reason. It was put there because it's an opportunity for me. And then you seek that opportunity. And also, I want to point out to those that don't know you that are listening to this is one of the reasons that you have so many opportunities is because you genuinely are a giver. People love you. In the community, you're well known in every community that you're in because you're the type of person that if you see somebody that needs money, you're willing to give it to them. If you see somebody that you can help or put gas or buy them food or whatever it is, it's just your natural state. You truly want to contribute. So coming from a place of contribution, it's almost like whatever people want to call it, you know, God, the universe or whatever, continues to reward you and open up opportunities because you recycle that and give back to those around you. So.
And thank you. I have to say, I'm audibly hearing something that I want to encourage all entrepreneurs. By the way, thank you, both of you. I'm audibly hearing the power of proximity. So it's so significant that when you're working on building something, when you're working on creating something as an entrepreneur, or you get an idea and inspired thought, it is very important that if you find yourself feeling a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, find people, find, groups, find support, even mentors or people that are able to lead you, and let yourself be taught. And it's funny, the power of proximity, it's not even that you need to go do learning, but just being around people that have evolved enough to master what you're seeking to express or what you're seeking to cultivate, what you're seeking to master. It becomes, I like to say, it's like osmosis, it's like their energy and their knowledge gets transferred somehow. And all of a sudden you have certain things feel easier when at one point they felt hard or challenging. And it's because proximity becomes that example. It's kind of like your mind, your energy, your heart, whatever it is you choose to call it, open up into seeing, oh, wow, there is another way. Mm-hmm. But I'm audibly hearing that. Like when you're feeling fearful about something, surround yourself or put yourself in situations in which other people have moved past the fear and have mastered it, have embodied it, or in some level can just show you and mirror back to you, even just consciously, right, mentally. Helping with the mindset that, yes, it is truly possible.
Yeah. And for us, it's been one of the biggest blessings as well, is to surround ourselves with people that show us the possibilities of life, that are not afraid to dream and follow their dreams. For example, you're a great example of that. And we learn from those people and we continue to grow in development. So that's something that we can tell everyone, this is something you need to be doing. You need to be surrounding yourself with the right people that will help you, will build you up, will inspire you, will push you to see beyond yourself for the most part. So,
well, it shows you what's possible. And yes. So I think that's, what you're talking about with that fear is that for a lot of people, it's not only I don't know what to do, but it's also I can't see it's possible. Putting yourself around others that have been there and been through it and it's possible for them. It's like, okay, well, if they can do it, so can I. And so actually one of the things that made me think of is that you have a great sense of being able to open to what comes, and your openness, regardless of the situation, is what allows opportunities to come to you. So that being said, obviously for every entrepreneur, there are like certain roadblocks that come up, not necessarily physical ones that happen in real life, but mental or emotional ones. So like limiting beliefs, for instance. So in your experience evolving as an entrepreneur, can you identify any specific belief that you held at one point that might have held you back, or you didn't see what was possible, and then
what experience helped you get beyond that?
So for me, I'm actually just trying to like identify which ones were the biggest ones that I feel, because I think all our roadblocks are unique, but the irony is when we get into the core of what the fear is and why it's coming up, it's part of human experience, you know? So it's kind of like, you know, it's like we celebrate because it wasn't an authentic fear. Like it was a fear that's literally been around for millions of years, right? With humans, like, you know, even with like, you know, and it's like one of those things that, you know, the beautiful thing is it's just one thing that I like to remind myself when any fear comes up is that, you know, that fear is part of human nature, but it's also part of what human nature came here destined to overcome.
Mhm.
So for me, the biggest challenge I would say is just going back to being practical because I'm such a big dreamer and so out there sometimes with my ideas of what's possible and also just what I'm shown what's possible. And I like to, but sometimes I know for me, I've struggled in regard to saying, no, you need to be more practical. You got 3 kids to take care of. You have to. So for me, that's been a struggle, ironically, because my bigger part of me is constantly saying, dream big, dream big, dream big. And then that other part of me where I'm a mommy and I have all these other responsibilities, financial, is like, you need to be practical. Like, you know, get this and this and this taken care of. So that for me has been a challenge that I've had to face. You know, part of what I know I've had challenges, you know, just being practical. But another thing that I've had that I found myself sometimes, because I do get guidance that sometimes is like huge and like, oh my gosh, mind blowing sometimes, you know, I've had my human mind say, no, that's just not possible. No, that's just not possible. And for me, and I want to encourage people to do that because there's power in that, is that whenever something seems so big and overwhelming and like, you know, maybe I'm dreaming too big or maybe I'm understanding things way out of what it's really meant to be, I ask for it to be affirmed outside of me. Not necessarily that I'm going to affirm it, but that I invite for whatever it is you choose to call it, that which is outside of me, to affirm it back to me that it's possible. So whether it's through music, through calls, through synchronicities that line up, I invite for that to be affirmed back to me. And then thirdly, the last thing is financially, because again, having to take care of the 3 children, I know that for me, that's been a fear that has come up. You know, how am I going to do this with this amount of money? How am I going to do that with this amount of money? But one of the things that has been very deliberate and intentional, that whenever that fear comes up for me, I encourage everybody to let yourself feel it, because the more you tuck it under the rug and push it down, it's going to show up, and it's going to show up a lot, 10 times stronger than when it first originated. But I let myself feel it. And then I call my own BS. You know, how has this not been relevant in my past? So then I identify all the times that I've been abundant in my past and how things have worked out. Then I call my BS about like, okay, well, have you really ever had to face this extreme fear that I've been contemplating in my head? No, I haven't. So it's like I let myself go there. And then from there, once I call my BS and I identify what is truly possible if I let go of that fear, like where can I let myself be moved into? How can I liberate myself if I just choose in this moment something differently? And from there, it gets exciting. It gets expansive. It's like as if it's kind of like I choose to take off that weight. I let go of the anchor is what they want me to say, right? I let go of the anchor and then I can go sailing from there. But, you know, another thing, again, I always encourage to be proactive, not to work on things when you have the fear, not to work on, yes, do that too. Let me just be clear that. Work on it when it comes up. But it's about being very proactive on what you can do now so that when stuff like that, the BS comes up, your mental BS comes up, your fears come up, you've already prepared enough, your ammunition, your armor is already in set. Things can literally slide off. And I want to just share real quick. I unplugged my microphone so I can show. So these are a few of the things that I do, and I want to encourage entrepreneurs to do the same. You know, this is not just something that I teach. It's something that I live. You know, I've got my affirmative words of my mindset. And then even when I walk into my bathroom, it's like a whole thing to just help me. It's like I'm not joking around when it comes to my dreams, right? But this is relevant for all entrepreneurs. It's like we don't realize how powerful things like this are, like how powerful it really is to set the mindset, to set the tone for your morning, your day, your life. If you're committing to create a business, if you're committed to create abundance, if you're committed to create powerful things in your life, then you have to commit all the way. It's not about 80%, 50%, it's about all the way, where it becomes your lifestyle, your expectation. Because ultimately, we say we want to create this business and we got to do this as in business, but our expectations about how to make this happen are down here. So of course we're going to trip over our feet and see all these challenges and fears and feed the fears. But it's about understanding that there's just a power in really committing 100%, including with how you feed your mind.
Well, I love that you embrace the fact that you want to like feed those desires. That's what all that's for. It's like, it's not just, this is what I have to do. It's like, this is what I'm doing. This is my life. And that's what we're the same way. We don't have it on whiteboards, but we have like big pieces of paper up like all over the house, and we have
actually
flow charts. And
I'll show you something real quick since we're doing some showtime. But we're helping our daughter launch a business. She's doing a coloring book. So we're kind of teaching her the process that we go through. And obviously she's had other businesses in the past, but the brainstorming process, how do you develop an understanding if it's a good idea and stuff like that. So even in our own house, if you look at our own house, it's almost like you can see the papers up on the window as we brainstorm and come up with solutions. And obviously those stay there because we're still like in the development phase, an understanding phase of
it's
what
like we
she's
leave
gonna be
it there
doing.
so we can stew a little bit. We can allow the ideas to flow, and we have it up there. We can write down the ideas when it comes, but we do the same thing. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
And that you showed it, because I think it also shows people what it really takes, that it's not just something that you just talk about it, that you surround yourself with that. When you wake up, you see it there. As you go, if you go into the bathroom, you walk through it. So it's this constant reminder and affirmation of what you're creating in your life. So you constantly have that focus on you where you don't get distracted by other things. And you might get distracted at times, but it still comes back to that because it's right in your face.
Well, it's like we put it all there in our face all the time, one way or another, because we know we're going to get distracted, because that's what life is, especially when you're an entrepreneur. One of the things that comes up a lot is kind of like, how do I stay focused? How do I keep myself like productive when I feel like I'm being like pulled all these different directions? And especially if you work out of a home office, it's like there's always something. And so how do you keep that focus and really that this is it? This is what everyone that I've met that's an entrepreneur does to keep themselves. It's like you have to keep going over, you're reminding yourself constantly that this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. This is my goal. This is my dream. This is my passion. And this is why I'm doing it. And this is what to do next. And if you continue to remind yourself, and like you're showing, having physical reminders, it's like it allows all of that potential chaos, all of that energy to then be focused right back into where you want it to go.
And I do want to kind of rewind a little bit just to help people understand you a little bit more. When was that epiphany for you, where you truly understood that what you wanted as far as creating your own thing? Also, you were a teacher and you were start to do workshops and do these things, but when was that epiphany that you said, this is possible? I can create a living and I can be an entrepreneur and do what I love and contribute the way I want to contribute and be able to focus on that.
And not just surviving, but actually like
Thriving.
Really thriving as an entrepreneur. Was that, when did it click? Like, I can do this.
It's interesting because I feel like I have those I can do it all the time. It's like and I get emotional thinking about that because I feel like it's epiphanies that, wow, I could do this every time we evolve, like, when I was charging $66, wow, I can do this. When I'm like bumping up to $333 an hour, whoa, I can do this. When I'm bumping up to $35,000 for a week, whoa, I can do this, So I had many epiphanies along the way, but I feel like it's meant to be that way. If not, we get stagnant. I feel like when we push ourselves past that, but when you say that, I feel like life circumstances push me into saying I'm ready. And I would say it just occurred when I became a single mom, that I didn't have a choice, and it's one of those things that, yeah, I mean, ultimately we always have a choice, but for me, because my children were my priority, my time with them were my priority, my freedom to enjoy my moments with them were a priority, it became like, it's a must, it's a must. So when you say, when did you have that epiphany? It's hard to identify exactly like this or that was the specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I recognize that if I was to link it to one moment, it was more of an epiphany that it's a must. That there's no like, oh, I'm doing this. No, it's a must, for my well-being, for my children's well-being, but also for who I came here to be. And I can't, I didn't have a choice into letting that go. So I would say, I mean, the moment that occurred where I became a single mom, I went full throttle into making this happen. And it was about me just really delivering myself, unwavering and putting myself out there and going for it. But I would say I can't really link it to a moment where I said, oh, this is what I'm going to do. It was like, it's a must do. And I'm going to make this as magical as I can make it. So.
Well, and we had the same experience that for us as entrepreneurs, and it's like, it's always been a must. So it's not like, oh, this can happen. It's almost like it's going to happen. It's like, we're going to make it happen. We'll put in the hours, we'll do whatever we need to do, we'll learn from the process. And I love how you bring it back to, like, I used to charge this much, and it was like, oh, this can happen. And then you charge $333, oh, this can happen. Because again, I resonate with that deeply, because it's almost like you keep pushing what your reality is, what your understanding of what's possible in life. It's almost like a stepping stone. And then bringing it back to what you said, when you surround yourself with people that are doing, like you said, charging $30,000 or something like that, before it would have been like, oh my God, that's what I make in a year as a teacher, So, and then all of a sudden you start realizing that it's just numbers.
As you're saying that, I'm audibly hearing, it's like I'm audibly just being reminded that when we step into our worth, and it's not about ego, this is not about ego, but step into our worth and recognizing that our time, our gifts, our process is of value, and we authentically know it can make a difference in this world. When we give ourselves permission to value that, we gift our clients the ability to receive as well. So, when one of the things that I had to face early on when I started bumping my prices, because I audibly kept being given, like, you must, because of what work you need to be out there. It needs, it's about me understanding that this financial blessing that comes to me is not just to help my family and myself, but it's a way to help spread my wings so I can put myself more out there. And one of the things that I was shown early on, and I see it all the time with clients that I work with, it's that when someone chooses to contribute to my growth by paying for a session or by paying for a program or joining me for a retreat, it allows them to receive as well. Because one thing I'm shown all the time is that as they contribute, it comes back to them. As I pour onto them my love, my support, my guidance, my own sense of empowerment to them, I help them not only receive that, but I also free them from receiving abundantly what can come back to them. Because in so many ways, anytime, and this is like a spiritual law, I want to make it a spiritual law because they show me all the time. Anytime you, I, or anybody takes time to feed themselves, like authentically feed and grow themselves, they open up a portal of receiving, a portal of abundance, a portal of money to come in and bless them and pretty much triple or quadruple their investment of what they've taken to grow themselves so that it can come back to continue to support them and lead them into where else they can go. And I see it all the time, and I've learned that even from experience. When I've learned to invest on people that can support me and inspire me and encourage me, when I choose to contribute to their growth and offer it to them, by doing that, I also free myself to be amplified financially. And it works. Like, it works.
Yeah.
We've had the same experience. It's like we invest in a program, we go to an event, we hire someone, and it always comes back tenfold. And actually, it's funny because like your story actually is the story that we use when we're teaching people, which we do all the time, about being willing to charge what they're worth and recognize their value. Because by doing that and by giving the opportunity for the other person to invest and feel invested, that they're also more committed. They get more out of it. They can fully receive what you're offering them because they've had to, in some way, sacrifice in order to receive it. And so it's like this spiral that just continues to go, because once they have that experience, it opens up their life, and more abundance or more of whatever it is that they're looking for then can come back to them. And that your story is like the ideal scenario of how you evolve to be able to do that at higher and higher levels over time, which is so important, because that is probably one of the biggest things, especially people who are in heart-centered businesses, that they get stuck with that not valuing themselves and not recognizing that it's almost like selfish. It's like, whether it's you're spending money on something or whether you're spending your time doing something for yourself, that selfishness is actually the biggest gift that you can give anyone, because by giving yourself that gift yourself, you're making yourself more able, more capable of then bringing all of yourself to whatever it is that you do in your business.
And I do want to bring something up too, because we work obviously with a lot of heart-centered people, and some of them are saying, well, that excludes my ability to help certain people. And I know this is something that you went through. And I want for you to share how you dealt with that, one, but also share how you still contribute to people that might not be able to afford $35,000 for a retreat, or afford, $333 for a session or whatever it is. So how have you found that balance? Because I know you have, but.
Well, it's one of those things that, again, there's certain people that I get shown that I'm meant to meet with. And I always, before I ever share or offer any free sessions, because I'm being shown to meet with them, so for heart-centered, I always share with the individual, I want to invite you to say, I'm willing to receive. Receive in whichever way is possible from known and unknown places. And we both set that intention. And I've only had to do, I can't count them in my hands, like probably not even that, but it's really cool that whenever I've had that situation where if there's someone I'm meant to share with, I follow through on that. But I also understand that there's many different ways of receiving. But if it's a client, and I say that because there's times that I'm out somewhere and of course I get guided to be of service. But when it's a client, I always invite them to be available to receive. There's been so many times, like mind-blowing, amazing miracles where people say, oh, I can't afford it, or I can't do it. And within a day or a few days, the money appears like that. My favorite story happened with a woman who, this was early on. This is when I was charging $66 an hour, which is crazy, right? It's like she said she couldn't afford it. She had to move. She had all this stuff. She had no money. And I told her, that's fine. Let's just plan on meeting. I'm committing to meeting with you, but I need you to commit to trust that you're going to be provided for. And she did that. And on her way out to meet me, she saw an envelope sitting on her desk. When she opened the envelope, it was the cash exactly to the T for our appointment and for our time. That's not the only story. I've had so many stories. I've had people like, oh, my ex sent me a check of a few $1,000s, like out of the blue. This person hasn't talked to me. I'm like, you know what I mean? Things happen that are just unable to be perceived or conceived by the mind when we say we are willing. We're willing. Thank you. And it's that power of decision, right? When we decide this is for me and we decide this is something I must do, I decide that this is something I'm going to take action in. It's as if everything, we hear that all the time. The whole universe orchestrates and said, yes, we will make it happen. It's like, but it requires that decision. And instead, we pitter patter and we're like, I'm waiting for it to show up. I'm waiting for it to show up. I'm waiting for it to show up. And universe and our higher self and everything around us is saying, we are waiting for you to decide so that we can show up, And part of, for me, I'm saying that in many different ways. So trying for people who are working on growing themselves, and then for entrepreneurs that are a little intimidated about charging. When you hold yourself in that fear, when you hold yourself in that state, you are actually imprisoning not only your ability to succeed, but you're keeping your clients down here. You're keeping them from elevating to the next best that they can be. Because you're not here to teach scarcity. You're not here to empower scarcity. You're not here to feed lack. You're not here to focus on lack. You're here to help your clients and yourself liberate from the concepts and the ideas that there's only this much to work with. When realistically, there's limitless things to work with. There's an abundance of opportunities and flow that we're meant to step into and tap into to serve, especially for those of us that are heart-centered. Money is just energy. It's always been energy. And we've been brainwashed to think that a piece of paper has more power than the breath that we can take ourselves. The breath that we take is abundant. The same applies for all that we perceive as being out there. And it's about us understanding that it requires us to shift our mindset into what we are worth and what can come back to us energetically to also liberate who we can serve as well. And also, thank you. One of the things that they're audibly saying, for those heart-centered individuals who want to serve, you honor that. You definitely honor that. But also recognize that it's part of your responsibility to move into a place in which you can be supported, so you can move into a place in which your gifts can be abundantly blessing a bigger audience. And also understanding, one thing I like to remind my entrepreneurs that I coach and work with is that your mindset is not your ideal client's mindset. So if you have a mindset with lack and scarcity, or people are not going to pay for this, or people can't afford this, that is not your ideal client. Your ideal client who's going to be the person who says, you are worth it. You are worth my investment. You are worth my growth. You are worth what you are putting out there as your ideal. So you can't go out there projecting the wrong mindset and call forth the wrong clients, because those are not meant to be part of your ideal clients either. We have divine appointments that we're meant to meet, and understanding that when those divine appointments show up, they're going to be provided to support you as much as you're going to be provided for to support them.
Well, actually, one of the things I love about that story that you told is that you're empowering the client to remember that even if they don't feel that they, at that current moment, have the ability to pay for the thing that they want, that they do have the ability to attract that some other way, that there's always another way. And it's actually what it made me think of is that as far as an entrepreneur, if there's certain people you wanted to reach, and that you already know that that population cannot pay you what it is that you want to be charging, it's knowing that there's always another way. There can be another way that you could reach them, another type of service you could offer that is either lower cost or no cost at all, or another way of receiving the funding that then allows you, like for instance, there's people who work in the nonprofit world, but they can still make a really good income for themselves, but it's because they are open to there being other ways, and that it's not always just such a straightforward transaction where you have a business, you charge something, someone pays for it, and that's it. There's so many other ways for both the value that you're offering and for the financial aspect to come full circle to allow what you want to happen. And I think that it's huge to be able to use that example of the person that received the money they needed in an envelope, is that not only could your client or customer have that happen as well, especially if you let them know that this is possible, but you can have that happen for yourself as an entrepreneur. It's like maybe you really want to go to this event because you feel like the speakers there and the content is going to be what gives you those tools to go to the next level, but it's a $2,000 event and you don't have it. That you open yourself to the possibility that you might find some random check or a bag of money, but also that there might be something even less obvious that could happen that would facilitate you being able to access what you need.
And that we're all creators, and that there's many times in my life, and I've seen you do this too, is that, you need to come up with a certain amount of money because you want to do something. For example, for us in our past, when we first started, it's like, okay, we need this much money to be able to do this. That'll take us to the next level. So we create something quickly that is going to be launched like in a month or 2 months, and then put it out there as pre-sale or something to create that revenue. So there's many things that entrepreneurs can do to create that now as well. So it's being resourceful. As an entrepreneur, you have to be resourceful. And there's other ways to contribute. For example, you're doing like this interview, your social media, and other things that you put out there that you genuinely do it because you want to contribute to people's lives. So as an entrepreneur, is recognizing that you don't have to leave people behind necessarily, that you can empower your clients and those that you work with, but you can also share tools and information, just like what you're providing now for those that are listening.
Or even a show like this. It's a way for us to put powerful content, whether we're the ones that are teaching or we're bringing in guests, that gives people access to the inspiration and the empowerment and the tools. And this is a free platform. So there's so many other ways to contribute if you're feeling like you're stuck between charging what I feel like I should be charging versus contributing. And actually, I did want to just bring one thing back up when he was talking about that we're creators, meaning that we have the ability to create what we need. And you had shared the story of, you know, when you became a single mom, that it was like, this is that moment where it's like, I have no choice, I have to do this. And you went into creation mode. You really embraced your power to direct your life, to create what it is that you needed. And, you know, Joel mentioned that we've always had that, like, this is a must. But there were certain experiences in our life that pushed that feeling like must to the next level, that made us like have to empower ourselves and really embody being a creator. Because in that moment, like several years ago when he became ill, it was like, okay, well, a traditional employment, just like in your situation, like you couldn't go get a regular job. It wasn't an option for you considering your circumstances. And so when we had the experience with his illness, it was the same thing. It was like entrepreneurship is our only option, and we have the ability to go all in this moment. And it just kind of all ties everything together. It's recognizing that there are a million different ways, because we received abundance in places we never would have expected. But part of it was because we were willing to do whatever it took. So even though we might, like, as an entrepreneur, we feel like we're working really hard at something, and it doesn't always pay off the way we think that it should. But then all of a sudden, like out of left field, something appears, some opportunity that then leads us to the abundance we were looking for, that comes from someplace else. And so it's also remembering that it doesn't have to come from where you expect, and it's just your willingness to take that inspired action that opens up the door for everything.
And I want to ask you one more thing, and it's really, if you can reflect back, like where you're at now, what would you tell your younger self? You know, what would you teach your younger self?
Like what shortcut could you offer? Actually, I'm glad you brought this question up, because what I had thought of earlier that I completely forgot about was that for this question for you, it's like everything unfolded almost like a magical fairy tale in some ways. It's because you were so willing to take the next step when it came. But that being said, there's probably something that looking back, you say, geez, I really wish I had learned this earlier. Like, couldn't the universe have given me this sign like 5 or 10 years earlier? Like, what would be that thing that if you could go to your younger self and share that insight now, whether it's like a whisper in the wind or a feather on the floor that you had to give as a sign, like what would that sign be that you would have shared with your younger self?
It's funny because I got 3 things. One, I would be more risky. I would put myself more out there. I feel like I took a lot of leaps of faith, but I would have definitely taken a lot more. If from where I'm at now, my perspective, my wiser self right now, I would have taken more actions into faith, more risky. I would have been more risky. Just because there's times I've been shown so many visions about where I can be. And I remember one time standing in front of the mirror saying, why has this not yet happened? You know? And I audibly heard very clearly, what if you would have said yes to everything? You know? Even in my own yeses, I said many no's. You know, there's a lot of things that were shown to me, inspired action, doors that would open up that I didn't follow through on, that I wish if I can go back, I would remind or tell my younger self, go full throttle even more than what you're about to. It's like, just go. And because the worst thing that can happen is that you fall, you get back up and rebuild yourself. And realistically, there's the worst thing that we can do in life is look back and say, I should have, I could have, and what if I would have, it's so I would have taken more risk. Secondly, I would have invested more in my growth and in my learning. I feel like I already was doing that, but in the last 3 years have been more deliberate about that. And really just taking that time to just feed myself in knowledge, like literally just be around people that I'm learning. I'm part of a mastermind that I'm learning with. I am going to events that I'm learning with. It's like I'm putting myself more in that environment in which I'm actively learning and growing myself, not just spiritually, but, because we're here to contribute to each other. And I would have done more. I was already doing it, but I would have even done it more, just because without fail, every time I've invested in myself, without fail, it comes back to me at least 5 times to 10 times more than my investment. Every time. So I would have done that more. And thirdly, I would have taken more time for me. I take time to meditate, and I try to do my annual retreats for me, but I would have done more of that, because it's during those moments that we can filter out all the chaos, filter out all these other things going outside of us, so that we can hone in, what can be better defined through us, what can come out from us, what can be shaped into creation as us. We can get very sidetracked with the chaos and all the stuff going on out here and what people are saying, what the world, it's like we can get very distracted. And I recognize if I would have taken more time to feed me and take care of me with certain, and again, it doesn't have to be every month, but at least more actively. I wish I would have started that sooner, taken more time with me, for me, so that everything that can be birthed through me could have been made more available or sooner.
Absolutely. That's huge. It's like that honoring yourself, self-love. It's one of those things that we all hear about, but so many people, especially entrepreneurs, we kind of forget. It's like, even, at like a practical level, it's the cliche of like, you're always fixing everybody else's problems, but you're never fixing your own. Just like you might be, especially we have a lot of life coaches we work with. It's like I'm empowering them to like love themselves and take time for themselves, but yet I'm not doing it. And so I think that it's such a great reminder. I'm glad you brought that up, because we try to do that. We've gotten better at it again in the last like 3 or 4 years, like taking that time away, taking the time to disconnect, to do the things that feed us. And when we don't do it, we can dramatically see the difference in the way that it's like we feel it's like we're doing it for ourselves. Again, it comes back to that selfishness. But when we do it, it's like it allows us to be on our A game and to bring our best to our work and to be able to do more for our clients and create better programs and products. And it's huge.
And for us, what we tend to do is that we'll take a day or 2 off, like completely unplug, just get in the car, go somewhere, and just step away from our environment. And I think for us, it helps us recenter, but like the ideas that come from that silence and that disconnection, I think it's one of the biggest blessings that has allowed us to really, truly move forward.
And so there is one final official question that we would like to ask. And the reason why this is what we close with is that, again, we work with so many heart-centered people. So we know that a lot of the people that would be listening to this or watching this are doing what they do because they want to make a difference. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur, we also all have those selfish motivations of what we want our business to accomplish in our lives. And so the question is 2 parts, is like, what's the biggest difference that you want your business to make in your life? And then also, what's that difference that you want to make through your business that impacts other people? And so to be selfish and selfless at the same time.
Where to begin? Okay. Let's start with the selfless part. My vision is to be awakening millions and billions of people. Like, not just because it's just a thought. I really believe I have that power inside of me. but I also feel like I have the power to remind everybody out there that they too have the power. I feel that with my experiences, I've gotten glimpses into what's possible for our humanity, for ourselves as individuals and as a collective. And my passion and my desire is that what I put out there, what I can contribute to the world, becomes a pathway for people to really come together and create not only this for their own journey in which they can really tap into that divine magic, but they can really coexist together in that exciting, euphoric place in which divine magic becomes part of all our experiences. So, when I say that, my ideal is to really help people tap in fully to their divine magic, because it's so real, like so real. It's so real. Everybody, I've worked with thousands of people, and they've all come to see what is really possible if they just open up to that. It's that powerful, that tangible, and that real. And I know my responsibility in both by choice, but also both by soul decision. I feel like that's part of what I'm here to do, awaken people to knowing their true potential, which is really just limitless. Mm-hmm. And then with selfish reasons, with my finances, it's interesting how that's evolved too. I joke and I'm like, wow, I remember when before my goal was making $2,000 a month. It's like, oh, if I could just make $2,000 a month. And then it bumped to like 10,000, like 5,000, then 10,000. Then like, let's bump it up to like 60 and 70. Like let's go and think and dream bigger. And for me, financially, I want to be in a place in which I'm financially free to make any decision that I want for myself and for my children. So ultimately, if I have to put a number just because I love 4-4, I'm open and available and receptive to be consistently having a profit of 4.4 million a year. I'm open to that. I'm available to that. And it's not necessarily because of egotistical, even though some people may identify to that, but because I feel that I'm worth the gift. I'm worth the ability to be financially free. And I feel like I am meant to be in that place of freedom financially, not just for myself, for the people that I serve, and especially my children and my family. I am a big dreamer, and I want to take care of all my family, and all my kids. And I want to be able to have that freedom in which I can say, I've got this. So that's my bigger picture with that. And really with my business, I want to be really serving globally through retreats, through coaching, through programs, through events, through speaking on stage. I want to continue that, and I want to continue to amplify and expand that even to the next level, like beyond what my mind can conceive.
Well, cheers to that.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny, just want to mention something real quick, because the other night we had a good laugh, because out of nowhere, I'm camped at random. I like to share random things. And I look at her and I said, I've been thinking about it, and I just haven't found a good reason why not to be a billionaire.
We probably laughed about that for like 20 minutes.
It's like I meant it too. It's like
there's no reason not to be a billionaire.
There's no reason not to.
Why don't you do it?
Because really it comes down to, it opens up your abilities to contribute at a different level. And I think that's what's important that people miss as entrepreneurs, and that as they look at money and have negative money consciousness, is that it's not about the money. It's about the freedom and opportunities that it creates in your life, and the freedom and opportunities to contribute to the life of others the way you truly want to contribute at a larger scale. So with that said, obviously your business has evolved and changed. What are some ways that people can work with you today?
Well, and actually, to add to that, I also wanted to point out, not only has it evolved and changed over time, but it's evolved and changed recently, including, as you call it, you retired. So it would be interesting.
Congratulations.
Yes, yay, high five. So just to explain what that means and why, and then also, what's new and exciting in your world and in your business? Like, what's that thing you're working on right now that you're just, thrilled to the moon about?
All right. So before I go there, and just because I have to honor every time I hear guidance. So real quick, I'm audibly hearing the word, and I just made a live video on this about feeding your expectations. And it's not about we feed our expectations, but that universe, divine source creator feeds our expectations. So I want to just encourage all entrepreneurs out there to really look at conscious and subconscious expectations about their growth, their business, how to make money, how not to make money, and really be very diligent in identifying where the expectations are being held in a negative state of formation, like where they're creating deliberate delays, they're creating deliberate shackles, or saying, like, it's like there's expectations that you're putting out there to the universe, to the world, to your day, to your life, that are keeping you in stuckness, that are keeping you in delay, that are keeping you in challenge. Because let's say some of you might say, there's a hidden expectation that money takes a lot of work and hard work, and it's got to be, I got to go and give all of myself and get tired by it. But if you have that expectation, that is what's going to come back. It's like that expectation is going to be met. And it's even psychological. If you have an expectation, that belief in that expectation, you are going to subconsciously create everything around you to make that expectation real, to make that belief real, because there's no part in our human nature that wants to be proved wrong. So if your expectations are not set to the highest standards, to the highest and the best, you are going to be met in those expectations. So set those expectations to be more expansive, that money comes easily, freely, and frequently, right? That your business is ready and wanting and just pretty much evolving while you sleep, creating a different expectation, because you pretty much, they're saying the word catapult, you catapult yourself into possibilities that are free of expectations, that are free from the limiting expectations that anybody can set out there. So that being said, I did just retire my one-on-one intuitive sessions, just because based on the guidance that I'm getting, I'm being inspired and encouraged to really dive in deep in creating a more transformational experience for individuals. And I do that through my 8-week coaching, which is a very powerful experience in which I work with people for 8 weeks, one-on-one. I meet with them every week. They get a packet, they get their energy work, and it's really creating their life. We work on designing their life. We work on whatever's in the way. We get it out of the way. We free, we liberate. We really allow the evolution of who they can be in the now. And I'm not saying now because of what we are able, but like we expand it and we open it up in many magical ways. From there and in those coaching experiences, I really help people tap into the magic and experience it, not just be a concept, but a knowing. And again, we create the life, we design the life that they're meant to step into. So the coaching is very powerful. My retreats, I love my retreats. I have 3 coming up this year. I'm finalizing dates here actually this week, so I'm very excited about that. And the retreats are very powerful. People see just things in front of them that they would have never thought could be possible. So it incorporates a lot of intuitive awakenings, but also it helps them really get centered, get clear, and then tap into what's next. Like they create a map for their life into how to move forward in their journey and create, again, the life that they're ready to design. And I also have a mastermind, and that's what I love, all the things that I'm doing. That one is like we come together as a group and we play. We play. We create everything and anything that we want. And, divine guides, different exercises and experiences and things like that to help people really just have fun and really play with the energy, not just tapped into what they can do, but as a group, we come together and we expand it and we make magic happen. And then another thing that I am starting that I'm excited, and this is new, it's actually the life design, where I'm going to be meeting with people for about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm literally helping them create a map, their life design. I'm shown the different things about their soul, their strategies, their life strategies, and what things are ready to really move into. Also, what they're here to pretty much set themselves free from. So we help just bypass a lot of steps that sometimes our human mind can perceive it has to go through. So it's like a fast track into knowing what's next in a condensed way.
So how can they?
Oh my gosh, my book, Angelic Blueprint 90 Days, and it's a 90-day journal and calendar, which is pretty much getting hands on something for you to have physically that you can write and do the exercise, prayers, affirmations, and it's just a way of waking up all of that in your life.
So how can they get access to this? To your website, I'm assuming, and
yes. So they can go into my website, theangelcoach.com, which is in the process of getting a facelift. So you're going to see the old version, but that's going to be uplifted here soon into its beautiful, radiant state. And but if not, people can privately email me at at theangelcoach.com, or find me on Facebook, Emily the Angel Coach or Emily Rivera, and we can work from there.
Okay. Well, as you can see, first of all, before I say that, I just want to thank you for your time. Anyone listening to this or seeing this video, whatever it is, can clearly see that you're the real deal. You know, it's like you're ready to tell people step by steps. Like I can take 3 steps that people need to take, or I need to, like, you know what you're talking about because you live it in your own personal life. You're passionate about what you do, and really you're an inspiration because we've worked in so many capacities, whether it's workshops, conferences, one of the books that we've published, doing the Tribe of Silence many years ago, where we used to connect, you know, in a mastermind, but it was a silent mastermind where everyone used to just meditate for an hour and truly connect. You know, we've seen the transformation in our lives and your life throughout that process. And really what people don't see, the bigger picture, is that you have the most obstacles or challenges, and your perception of it is like nobody we've ever met. Your ability to stay positive, your ability to keep taking actions. See, people seeing it don't realize that you've spent many weeks and months out of your life in the hospital with your daughter. And that through all those challenges, through all those obstacles, through everything that you've had to overcome, you don't see it that way. You always look for that blessing. You always take the next step. You always find a way to take that experience and contribute to other people because of that experience. And I think that people can learn so much about that limitations are only created in our minds. That regardless of what you're going through, regardless of your own obstacles, your own challenges, that you can transform and create a beautiful reality. So I thank you. I thank you for being that light to the world. I thank you for being that inspiration to so many people, because I know as a fact that so many people's lives has been changed and transformed because of your existence.
Oh, thank you.
And so many more to come.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love you both.
Thank you again.
We love you, and we look forward to seeing how you're continue to evolve and transform, and possibly having you back in the future. So
Looking forward to it. And I appreciate both of you for this opportunity, and everyone who joined and listened and took the time out of their time to.
Yes, I'm sure it's been quite a treat for them.
yes.
Thank you.
You all.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, fellow Freedom Junkies, for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to help us grow, please rate and share this podcast. You can also become a member of Freedom Nation. Visit freedomorbustpodcast.com and sign up to receive access to exclusive content and take the 21-day happiness challenge. As you know, we believe that entrepreneurship is the ultimate form of empowerment, which is why we created the Side Hustle Business Startup course for anyone looking to create their own income and take back their power. We offer an exclusive discount for our podcast listeners. Find out more at freedomorbustpodcast.com.